Politics, being plenty more. Your sense of fashion, you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Viva Jack, 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 Viva Jack. That's what I'm talking about. First time singing the songs for Viva Jack. Shout out. I don't know what I'm doing really, but I got passion. That's what it's about. It's all about passion. Swishy streams, all that content is bursting the seams. Politics, being plenty more. Your sense of fashion, you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Viva Jack, 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 Viva Jack,
Hello, everybody. How are we all doing tonight? Hello, Erica. Hello, Phoenix. Hello, Webmage101. Hello, I am certain. Hello, Jenny Ah. Hello, Powder Linux. Hello, Depraved Ambiance. Hello, Madmart. Hello, Cute Dark Arts. Hello, Fixer at Home. Hello, Conjure Gay Frogs. Hello, Kazooie. Hello, Big Jerry. Hello, Fluffy Demon Nia. Hello, Blueberry Bumblebees. Hello, Sweet and Sour Serena. Hello, Super Kitty. Hello, a raccoon named Spanky. Hello, Joey Staley. And congratulations on your realization or potential realization. Seems like a big deal. Hello, Liz Galahad. Hello, Latzia. Hello, everybody. Hello, Max Danger. Hello, Sage. Hello. How are we doing, Ransom Ballard? Hello, Spancom Cat. And it's okay if you can't take political news every day. That's why we got the segments put up on the YouTube. You can watch them as you feel able. Hello, Burning Sock. Hello, Lemony fucking Snicket. Hello, Yannick de Newborg. Hello, Brass Man. Hello, Queenie. Hello, Nova Sky Blessed. Hello, Nova Sky Blessed. Don't do that to me. You gave me a heart attack. Give me a heart attack. Hello, Chloos. Chloos. No way you're catching this live? You're catching this live. Galactic Streamlord, thank you very much for the raid. You guys come in right at a great time. I'm just in the process of saying hello to people. Hello, Sheepish T-Rex. Hello. I know you're on an urgent breaking news today, but I was going to tell you, recently I heard Alberta is opening projects for 100 data centers. Jesus Christ, Canada. Like, I know America's a real mess right now, but, like, you don't got to give us a run for our money. You don't have to make us work for it. The bar's already so low. Hello, Insect Hooves on Lassie. Hello, Bernie Barbie. Hello, Matatiahu. Hello, Story the Bard. Hello, Good Faith Goblin. Hello, Snogan. Hello, Cliff. Hello, Fox of Fate. Hello, Punky Gal. Hello, Dragonfly. Hello, Ellen Smith. Hello, Cliff. Hello, Samantha Maeve. Hello. How we doing, everybody? How we doing? Hello, Mosquito, F2F. What of the 5,000 pronouns you want to be called? Any of the pronouns that will, make you more comfortable, I guess. We don't want to give people conniptions.
Fucking pronouns!
All right, Epstein here? No, Epstein's being taken care of right now in a cushy cell, as per Ghislaine Maxwell's agreement with Donald Trump. Hello, Diamond Power. Also, I fully expect people to be deeply weird in vertical chat today. So, it reminds me, just gonna do this. And here you go. There we go. Do that. And I think we have all of the chats now live. And I'm always watching your vids. Thank you for showing what's going on in the US. I'm in the EU and our press is useless. They lick Trump's balls. Oh god, the press in the US is not better. I'm doing my best, but like I lack the institutional power. Old Irish phonology W. Look, it only took me 10,000 ages to pronounce Samantha's name right. That's my bad. Hello, Doom Kano. And reminder, folks, if you are seeing the vertical stream, there is a horizontal stream, depending on whether you want to watch, portrait or, portrait. What is it? Portrait or the other one? Whatever. You guys understand. Landscape. There we go. Whew. All right. Did Plattner win the primary? Yeah, by like a colossal margin. Like, it's frankly just staggering. Like, I know some people were like, well, maybe he won't win the primary. He absolutely dominated the primary. Jaeger Larson, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs and for being the first person to support stream today. Very much appreciated. And look at that. Look at that. Getting us all the way up to 224. Look at us go. Yeah, it wasn't even fucking close, guys. Wasn't he running unopposed? No. Janet Mills had pulled out of the race, but like she was his next closest competitor in the primary. And like there were still, I think, 3 or 4 other candidates in the primary. Below Janet Mills, I think the third place finisher had like a total of like 41 votes. I do think that or maybe the 4th place finisher. I know folks were pushing like LaFlamme. She got 41 votes. That's who I'm thinking of. Free Iran? Hell yeah. Inshallah, brother or sister. One day, Iran will be free. And be allowed by the imperial powers that be on this planet to be a democracy that's free and fair once more. I do think not tonight, but like at some point in the near future, we are gonna have to have like a candid conversation about Graham Plattner on the stream. A short time ago, my centristy brother was telling me the other gal had better odds than him because he is too far left. I mean, he is farther left than most people, but like, just to contextualize it, Graham Plattner is not like a super far left guy. Like, he fits squarely within like the spectrum of acceptable left-leaning candidates in America. Like the continuum of what has previously been accepted among mainstream left-wing movements in the United States. He's like right alongside like Eisenhower and FDR. Like he's not to the left of either of those guys, as far as I can tell. And like it is a definitive improvement over what we have. Don't you guys get me wrong? But like he's not the communist that a lot of people seem to be trying to portray him as. Or at least if he is, the policies he's running on are not that. Yeah, also, Plattner has by far the best chance of beating not Janet Mills, Susan Collins, and I think that that is, deeply, deeply important. Who is saying he is, besides Republicans, of course? Well, I was responding to a comment that's from a centrist Dem who was like, "He's too far left," and it's like, no, he's not. He's just not. Like, objectively not. Left and right are the same BS covered in innocent blood. I mean, politics is about the how power and violence are used. So yes, any locus of power within our political system is going to be covered in innocent blood. The goal, though, is to minimize that, and if at all possible, not have a political ideology bathed in blood. Real Hyperborean viewers enjoy vertical videos and streams more. The giants from the past make us like them more. The aspect ratio fits with the inner giant in many of us. Good night, Sonia Celeste. Thanks for popping in. I'll be civil, I promise. That's all good. He's a basic left main sock dem. Yeah, and like that is a colossal improvement over what we currently have in Susan Collins. So, I'll take it. Found it today. I personally wrote 1 out of 8 amendments submitted to the Washington State Dem platform. Fuck yeah, Dragonfly. Look at you. Moving, shaking, getting shit done. Also, Ashitagaming, thank you very much for subscribing. Appreciate it. And also, Logan Hill, thank you for the gifted membership. Very much appreciated. Y'all make this show possible, and it is my honor and privilege to be able to put it together for you guys. Hashtag gaming. Gotcha. My bad. That makes a lot more sense than hashtag gaming. Whew. Let's see. We're in a very weird state where Plattner is considered a scary Marxist. Yeah. Let's see. Ooh. Also, folks, I went and saw the Backrooms movie today, and I'm not going to do any spoilers, but very, very, very cool. Very interesting. If you've enjoyed my coverage of like the Backrooms web series in the past, you will probably really fucking like Kane Parsons' feature film. It's very good. It's very much in line with the web series and expands quite a bit. And if you've been paying attention to like the visual uh messaging and like the sound messaging within the Backrooms, you'll get a lot out of it as well. It's very, very good. My partner and I left the theater and we talked about it for like an hour and a half straight. It was really, really fun. And I cracked the egg, not due to Backrooms, but with the group I went to see it with. Hell yeah. Did you see his statement on AI in movies? I did. He's very based and cool. Have I seen the Digital Circus finale? I have not seen a single episode of the Amazing Digital Circus. I'm sorry. My friend's review is this guy fucking loves Gary's mod. I also, I don't think this is a spoiler, but after watching that, I am 99% convinced that the oldest view is also part of the Backrooms. So, I don't exactly know how they are connected, but like a lot of the visuals carry over And not only that, once it's been out for a while, I would love to talk about it a lot more. They're definitely similar. They're more than just similar. I think that they operate on the same logic. And that makes me think they are different places. Didn't Kane make The Oldest View? Yep. Yes, he did. The Oldest View is also made by Kane Pixels, and I am 99% sure after seeing the movie that The Oldest View and like the location in that is somehow either an extension or related to the backrooms that we see in both the movie and the web series. Vertical chat does feel like Thunderdome, doesn't it? Yup.
I know we got a lot of serious politics, but for my Gundam simps.
Yo, Sorry the Bard, thank you for the $20 dono. What is this?
On Earth, mankind measured time by seasons, not sirens. For a moment, the future felt promising.
They're inside! They're inside!
Out here, that promise is a lie.
Get in the robot, Shinji! Get in the robot! Trans Shinji!
Every breath taken is inside an armored shell.
God, Mecha is so fucking hype.
You're our last hope. The darkness coming for us. It remembers one man. The pilot. Find me. I'm here.
That was dope. That was cool as fuck. I like giant robots. There's just really no way to make giant robots not cool. You know, Pacific Rim had a lot of problems, but the giant robots were just cool as fuck. Also, Uncle Simric, thanks for holding down Vert Chat. How do you feel about Final Fantasy Revelations? I don't know, because I don't know what that is. I'm sure in like 2 weeks I'll catch up with some of the cool trailers. But I did not do that today. I went out and touched grass. Also, pro tip everybody, I don't know what happened, but Alamo Drafthouse sucks ass now. Like I don't really know. I don't know if like they got bought by like venture capital. I don't know what happened. But like they moved to QR code ordering, which makes no sense to me since their entire thing is don't use your phone or talk during movies. But now in order to order food at Alamo Drafthouse, you have to open up your fucking phone. And also in order to like get anything, like talk to a manager or anything, you have to open up your phone, and the food, which has always been overpriced, but at least in the past you could order food and it would be like actual food. Like you could have like an actual meal while eating there. And it wouldn't just be like concession food, it'd be like a hamburger or something, right? And like now it's genuinely highway robbery and the food sucks. Like the food sucks. My partner and I, we ordered nachos and queso, or tortilla chips and queso, and we ordered popcorn, and the popcorn came fucking ice cold. How do you fuck up popcorn at a movie theater, guys? Like how do you do that? It's like the basic entry level thing you need for a movie theater. It was ice cold, which meant that the butter was just wet. It was wet, cold popcorn that tasted like it had been out for like 2 days. And that popcorn was ridiculous. Like, it was ridiculously expensive. I almost ordered a drink because I didn't look at their prices. Does anyone want to guess how much a Diet Coke costs there? Just take a guess. Like one Diet Coke. Okay, Queenie has clearly been there. It was almost $10. It was like $8.60 some cents. It was ridiculous. Like it is robbery. Like I'm genuinely, I was like almost $10 for a fucking fountain drink. Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ. I just it was awful. I don't think I'm going to be going back there until I see any headlines about it. And Full Metal Chef Terry, thank you very much for subscribing. I do appreciate it. Though I do want to say I'm not always going to pause in the middle of what I'm talking about to acknowledge that somebody subscribed, because if I did that, I'd be stopping a lot. And like sometimes I want to finish my thought, because if I don't, I'll fucking forget it. Um let's see here. $10, fuck off, right? Let's see. Also, I'm taking a look at 4 chats at a time. You gotta be patient with me. All right, the algorithm keeps recommending your feed. What is the main subject you cover? Leftist politics. Then I'm in, but please do give me a summary for us new people. For those of you who are new, we are just getting started with the stream, and we typically cover politics, the news. I'm a socialist. I talk about leftist topics from a leftist perspective. I advocate for leftist reform of our current political and economic system, and also for more inclusion and acceptance, and also building the political power to make sure that we can defend such inclusion and acceptance. And it doesn't just get stripped from us the second it becomes convenient to those in power. Dude, fuck that. Just bring your own food and drink. Just save, I mean, for real. Just sneak your food and drink into a movie theater. Also, I know this is a small gripe, but Alamo Drafthouse has like leather seats, and the theater we were in literally had the crumbling leather exterior on the seats. Like I felt dirty after I got out of that theater because there were just leather crumbles all over like the back of my head and where we'd been sitting in the chairs. Like truly a miserable experience as far as movie going goes. And like I don't know. Like I've been to like theaters where like the tickets are $1. They at least get the popcorn, right? And the popcorn's like $4, and the drinks are like $3. And then you know what? Sometimes they even have like different kinds of foods you can get, like samosas or something. It's really really good. That's oil soaked vinyl, probably. Yeah, they might have used some kind of fucking disgusting cleaning solvent or something. Like, damn it, Sputnik! We literally used to sneak in multiple course meals into theaters. I mean, at this point, like, just like cook at home and bring it in tinfoil. Like, genuinely. Like, everything about these changes to Alamo Drafthouse have been just catastrophic. But that's been my day in a nutshell. And then I went and had margaritas outside. Um, and it was delightful. And now I'm here. After the margaritas, I drank too much water and I had a tummy ache, so I had to lay down, and I do apologize for being so late today. All right. Someone recently, I forget where, was talking about sneaking a whole seafood boil in. Honestly, that deserves to happen to Alamo Drafthouse. Am I gonna see Scary Movie 6? Nah.
What's this theater's spaghetti policy?
Honestly, fuck Alamo Drafthouse. Their spaghetti policy is as much spaghetti as you can get inside without getting caught. That's their policy. Looking into it, there's a fucked up saga with Alamo Drafthouse getting bought by private equity. Of course! Then Sony bought them a year or two ago and did a bunch of layoffs and policy changes. Sony's basically private equity at this point. God, no wonder it sucks. I just want to sit down with a good movie and a cold draft beer or three, right? Like, and preferably like 2 or 3 draft beers shouldn't be like $50. All right. Hard-boiled eggs is great for a movie? Absolutely. All right. I once worked at a movie theater. AI would have made me mop rain if a theater screen was dirty when the showing started. What? Oh, because if you saw AI on the screen, you'd feel like it was a dirty screen. Makes sense. All right, you guys ready for us to jump into our stories today? I'm gonna try to be more succinct than usual, get through some more content today, because it is currently where I am 2 o'clock in the morning, and I would like to sleep. So, to that end, want to level with you guys. We have 1 story, 2 story, 3 story, and you know what? Maybe 4 or 5 stories. I'm gonna boot this one to tomorrow. There we go. Also, keep in mind, folks, I will be on the Transatlantic Call-In show on Thursday, starting at I think 2 p.m. Central Time. So if you guys want to call in and debate me on trans issues, that's right. I see the posters in vertical chat. You can do so over on the line. I will be streaming live, I think, with Luxander this week, but I haven't. I would have to double check. It's gonna be a good show. Do call in, you silly little billies, with your brilliant arguments against trans folks. It is Lux? Hell yeah. Let's see. What is the most you would pay for a beer? To be honest with you, I'm not huge on beer, but probably like at most, like is it coming in a bottle? Honestly, it would depend on how much I like the beer. I'm not a huge beer person, so like probably my cutoff is a lot smaller than other people. You're not a cis woman? It's true, I'm not. Let's see here. Ain't no sleep for the wicked. Off topic, but I love having little crafts in the background while I listen to Jack. It keeps me calm. Hell yeah, all powerful Kagan. Hope you're having a good time. All right. Guess I'm a bog standard human because I love beer. That's all good. Some beers are really good, you know? But I like it for me it very much depends. I did not start drinking alcohol until I was like 26. And I gotta be honest with you. I want my alcohol to taste good and not to taste like a punishment. Unless it tastes like an actual punishment, like whiskey, in which case, hurt me more, daddy. All right. Riverboat has a great voice. Thank you, Mathblade. Is 3 a.m. too late for Monster? I don't think so. Doesn't all alcohol taste like a punishment? Not if you mix it right. All right. Has anyone called Takis to try to be more progressive than the hosts? I mean, maybe, but the people who call in generally either want advice or they want to debate trans issues. And usually they're not debating from the left. It's theoretically possible, of course, but like I haven't experienced it. Was your nan originally from England? Nope. Whew. Angry Orchard is great. Yeah, like a hard cider would be great, or like, yeah, yeah. All right, you guys ready to jump into our content today? Because I do have to be honest. Our first story here is a bit of a doozy and not really super fun. So, you guys ready to jump into that? Jack, that question was for me. Well, my nan also wasn't from England. All right, I'm just jumping in. I was waiting for you guys to be like, "Yeah, we're ready," but like, no, nobody's doing that. You're all talking about beer and hard ciders. That's all good. All right, here we go. Jumping in. So, folks, we have to talk, unfortunately, about the fact that there is currently a fascist movement within the UK and also Northern Ireland. Uh, I am distinguishing here um, because we're about to talk specifically about Belfast. But the politics of Northern Ireland in particular get real messy, real fast. But a lot of what's happening there right now is deriving directly from um, the failure of Keir Starmer's Labour and the ascendancy of Reform. And it is quite bad. Now, all of it stems from this incident. And I'm not, for obvious reasons, going to show you guys the video. But basically, this man was stopped from attempting, apparently, to allegedly trying to behead a man with a kitchen knife. And that's horrific. And I want to start out from a place of saying that is horrific. No getting around that. It's just point blank, absolutely horrific. The video in question shows this man who is believed to be from Sudan, pinning a man to the ground and stabbing him repeatedly in the neck and face. Now, incredibly, the man on the ground is apparently still alive and is still in critical condition, obviously, but like still alive after being attacked point blank repeatedly with a kitchen knife is pretty lucky, to say the least. And also lucky was the fact that there were people around filming and who then intervened to keep this man at bay, and that intervention probably saved this person's life, the victim's life. Now, what is happening in the UK right now and Northern Ireland is all kind of coming in response to this, but it's an entirely predictable set of responses from the major actors. And we have to talk about it because you're going to be waking up tomorrow, if you're in the United States, to headlines like this. This is from NPR, and it's being pushed out by the Associated Press. UK leaders call for calm as protests break out after Belfast street stabbing. Now, that might be an acceptable headline if what was happening in Belfast was people organizing, going out into the streets, protesting for police reform, etc., etc., etc. That's not what's happening. And I want to contrast this piece because with how The Guardian is portraying what is happening. And it's a bit different. There's wee girls inside. Panic as masked men storm house in Belfast. Now, that seems a bit different. And that's because what's happening in Belfast is not protest. What's happening in Belfast is coordinated action from far-right fascist groups. Tommy Robinson put out the call for men to go out into the streets of Belfast masked up and to close down streets and to close down any businesses and to retake Belfast. Right? This is a fascist attack on a major city. Is it a riot or a terrorist attack or something else? I would characterize this as a bit of both. I would say it is part race riot and part terrorist attack, because this has absolutely been coordinated. And you can see, by the way, that Elon Musk, for example, world's richest man, has just been nonstop tweeting about this. They call for calm in the face of horror. This is inhuman and manipulative. The proportionate and natural response to a horrific incident is disgust, fear, and anger. They want to downplay the horror to dodge their own political responsibility for it. And here he is amplifying Tommy Robinson's call for mass protest, which I want you to be very clear on this. Tommy Robinson is a fascist white supremacist. When someone like that calls for mass protest with no apparent aim in particular other than hating immigrants, that's not a protest. Calling for a mass ethnic cleansing of a country isn't normal political protest speech. Tommy Robinson is a hateful bigot.
Of course, by a 2020.
Jesus. And I know that because guess what? Elon Musk loves Tommy Robinson. Indeed, he says in response to this. Just endless atrocities in Britain right now. And it's just, I gotta be honest with you guys. This is some Hitlerite shit. The whole of United Kingdom is hitting the streets tonight at 7 p.m. following yet another invader attack on our people. Like, I want you guys to understand. Individual acts of violence happen all the time. All the time. Individual acts of violence happen. That is not an excuse to call for ethnic cleansing. That is not an excuse to attack fellow citizens or fellow residents because, oh, well, they're from Sudan, so clearly they're violent criminals. That's just gutter racism. That's no different than the thinking of the Ku Klux Klan. That's what this is. And what is happening right now in the UK is an extension of that. Here's this story. We're going to go deeper. There's wee girls in that house. On a residential street draped in loyalist flags near Belfast's Shankill Road, the masked men approached a house with boarded-up windows and a security camera stationed outside. As a woman from an ethnic minority background looked down from an upstairs window, some of the men rushed the front door and broke it down. The air thick with smoke from fireworks, they attacked the downstairs windows with bricks. As they stormed the property, some claimed to be liberating it. Graffiti nearby demanded local homes for local people. A woman in the crowd said to her friend, "There's wee girls inside." Nearby, a car was set on fire. As the chaos unfolded, a man in a skull face mask told people to put their phones away. Helicopters circled overhead, and 2 police officers looked on from their car as smoke billowed towards the sky, but appeared to conclude it was not safe to intervene. Like, this is a fucking fascist attack. This is a bunch of masked fucking bigot gutter racists breaking into somebody's house because there's a black person in there. That's it. That's what's happening. And when Tommy Robinson, someone who advocates for mass ethnic cleansing, tells people to go out into the streets to protest, this is what he is advocating for. It is a program. It is an attempt to kickstart mass ethnic cleansing. This is no different than what the Nazis did in Germany. This is no different from whatever every authoritarian movement does when they gain power and attempts to scapegoat a minority. Australians and Germans ain't raping our children and stabbing innocent citizens. I bet for a fact there are cases in the UK right now of Germans and Austrians doing exactly that. I bet there are cases about it that you just didn't hear about and didn't care about because black people weren't doing it. And when a black person does it, suddenly becomes one black person did a crime? I guess we need to do an ethnic cleansing. Lock down the borders. And it's weird how that never happens when white men do crimes, isn't it? When white men in the UK stab someone, or when white men in the UK do sex crimes, isn't it strange that the streets don't suddenly devolve into calls for mass ethnic cleansings of white men from the UK? So strange, isn't it? Very, very strange. So, when we're looking at these cases, it's not difficult to figure it out. And what I find very interesting here, especially in a case like this, one heinous crime doesn't justify further heinous crimes. One man taking a heinous action doesn't then justify a whole slew of people scuttling out of the woodwork, little fascist fucks, into the streets with masks so that they can do heinous crimes, so that they can flip cars and set fire to homes in an effort to torch out immigrants. Very strange, isn't it, that the people in the UK who claim that this heinous attack justifies race riots don't seem to think that burning down homes with children inside might constitute also a heinous crime. It's only, oddly enough, outrageous to them when black people do it. And to be clear, nobody should be doing any heinous crimes. But what is happening here, and this double standard that I'm pointing out and trying to articulate very forcefully and clearly here, is that people like Tommy Robinson and people on the far right, among reform, are not doing this because they are intellectually consistent. They are doing this because they are hateful bigots. And their ideology can only exist because they have the scapegoat of immigrants. And they know this. They know this. Because if you'll notice, if they were intellectually consistent, you'd have to deport all the white men in the UK. You'd have to deport all the fucking anytime anyone does a crime, everyone of that demographic gets deported. That is not a sustainable thing. That isn't it isn't possible to do that. The reason they claim it's possible is because they want to use immigrants as scapegoats while they continue to rob everyone else blind. They are fleecing each and every one of you in the UK by blaming all of your problems on immigrants. And they use violent incidents like this heinous crime in the case of this Sudanese man. They use that to point at and they say, see, they're all like that and they're robbing you. Because it's all a fucking distraction. To someone like Nigel Farage, he knows this. It's a distraction. He points at that while picking your pockets. It is crazy to me that people keep falling for this. And yet they do. And yet they do. You know, people in the UK will look at this case and be like, well, that Sudanese man is terrible and awful, and we should deport all the people from Sudan. And completely ignore the violent race riot instigated by fascists in Belfast, designed to instill fear, designed to foment unrest, and designed to act as a catalyst for politicians to become more conservative, to empower the fascist movement in the UK. And what happens here is that every single conservative looks at this and goes, yes, of course, we should deport all the Sudanese people. But they completely ignore the other things that happen as a result. They're like, well, yes, the Sudanese man was clearly in the wrong, and thus it justifies going around flipping cars, lighting them on fire, blocking streets, terrorizing people in their homes, destroying homes, and also threatening local businesses. Which I do want to point out, that is exactly what fascists claim immigrants do. When the fascists point fingers at immigrants and call them violent and call them like the instigators behind every wrong in the country, it is quite often to project blame onto immigrants for the things the fascists themselves do. It's Like, I don't know, guys. Like, yeah, the people who went here and, like, overturned this car and, destroyed it. Yeah, they really care. They really care about the integrity of their communities. They really care about the people of Northern Ireland. They really care about the people of Belfast. It's crazy. Members of Belfast's Sudanese community left work early and many aren't venturing out of their homes. And oh, hey, let's take a look at this. In a unionist area of East Belfast, masked men set bins alight and pushed them into a bus on the Newtown Ards Road, prompting bus services to be suspended until further notice. Some wore balaclavas and waved flares. Several explosions were heard in the space of a few minutes. Several hundred people lingered to view the burnt glider bus, and at least 3 homes had been torched. It was a Romani family in that one, said one woman, indicating a gutted terrace house that still smoldered. Families with young children mingled with men wearing masks and young couples. Some exuded a carnival atmosphere, posing for pictures and drinking beer. One man hoisted up his son, aged around 7, for a better view of another destroyed house. "Get a look at that," he said. "Wow," the boy replied. It's fascist violence. This is a fascist attack on Belfast, and it should be treated as such anytime we talk about it. Anytime this gets talked about. These masked fascists went around and burned people's houses down on the basis of their ethnicity. And how is NPR in the United States portraying it? Well, we need calm. They're just protests that broke out. These aren't protests. These are targeted attacks on black and brown people in the UK. These are targeted attacks from fascists. And it's exactly out of the fascist playbook. And you can look at that playbook play out in history again and again, from Germany to Spain to Italy. This kind of shit is hand in hand with the same kind of thing that, frankly, if you're in the UK, your forefathers fought against in World War II. And those of you in the UK who are just going like, "Oh, well, it's not actually fascist violence." Man, you guys are suckers. Man, if Hitler had just come to you guys and talked about how he liked soccer first, football, you guys would have fucking fallen for it. It's genuinely astounding to me, the cowardice of the modern UK man, in particular. Fucking cowards who would have surrendered on the first day of the Blitz. Jesus. Define fascism as Umberto Eco defined it. I have an entire video going over his essay, Fascism. It's pitiful, it is weak, and honestly, to be very clear, fascism is the ideology of cowards. It is the ideology of people who cannot contend with reality and seek to project their insecurities onto the world. Instead of trying to do better, they seek to blame others. Jack, please educate the conservatives on pogroms or the details of Kristallnacht. History is rhyming. I mean, to be completely honest, anyone who knows anything about the Holocaust and the rise of fascism in Nazi Germany should understand that a huge component of what Hitler talked about during his rise to power was that Germany had been betrayed domestically by Jewish people, and that Jews had come into the country in an oncoming invasion. And then he portrayed other nations where their residents had moved to Germany as invaders. He talked about this constantly, all the fucking time. And I guess it just took Nigel Farage and Reform talking about it constantly, along with Tommy Robinson, as an outsider. That's all it took to convince conservatives in the UK. It's crazy. It's crazy. Islam out of our countries, Europe is rising, millions must go. It's truly right out of the fucking Nazi playbook. It's crazy. Y'all are like one bad day away from pushing Nazi esotericism about Aryan race. The glorious Aryan race spreading across Europe. That's you guys right now. And like, fuck. My grandfather didn't fight you fuckers so that I'd have to fight you guys again, but I'll do it if I gotta. Jesus. It's fucking evil. It is. If you can watch a bunch of masked men take to the streets, burning people's homes down while people are still inside, in the name of, like, racially purifying their land, and you look at that and you're like, well, that's good, though. It's good when we do it, but not when the Nazis do it, because we're built different. You're just as bad as the fucking Nazis. You're just as fucking bad. Scary that you can't walk outside getting stabbed. The majority of stabbings in the UK are done by white men. Like, Jesus. By the way, quick question. What group of people in the UK is most likely to be stabbed? Take a guess. What group of people is most likely to be stabbed in the UK? The victim of a stabbing. Let's, since we're seeing some people, what group of trans people, not trans people, what racial group within the UK is most likely to be stabbed? I'm seeing a lot of people listing, like, gender or religion. White males are the most likely to be stabbed. Trans people aren't a race. They aren't a race. I misspoke. That's why I corrected myself and said race. Let's take a look here. It is, in fact, Black and African individuals. Black and African individuals are the most likely demographic to be stabbed in the UK. Now, to be fair, white, European, and British make up a pretty decent chunk of that as well. but not, in fact, what a lot of people in the UK assume. It was a black who attacked a leftist who was helping him in Belfast. Yeah, and one act of interpersonal violence does not justify a fucking pogrom against an entire group of people on the basis of their ethnic background. Like, I'm sorry. Do you really think that if a white person stabbed like a black person, it would justify an uprising of like black people in the UK to like ethnically cleanse the UK of white people? No, of course not. But it seems to go the other way, doesn't it? For folks in the UK. It's wild, huh? Truth hurts you, don't it? Like, I don't know. Like, even if I assume at face value what you're saying is true, one act of interpersonal violence does not justify ethnic cleansing. That doesn't hurt me. That's just my belief on principle. This is toddler logic. One guy did it, so let me blame his entire group of people. Yeah, exactly. It's genuinely baby-brained bullshit. Which is, by the way, where fascism thrives. Because, again, fascism is an ideology for cowards and also for morons. It's the religion, let's not pretend. There is nothing inherent to Islam or let me put it this way. There's nothing inherent to Islam that that creates violence. And if you are going to make arguments about, religion makes you more prone to violence in this way or that way, man, folks need to look in a fucking mirror about Christianity. There's literally an entire part of the Bible about God commanding genocide. But it's okay because it's God. Like, I don't know, if you are one of those people pointing fingers, maybe you should take a page out of Jesus's book and let others without sin cast the first stone. Nothing in Islam that promotes violence. Fuck, man, if you want to play that game, we can. I grew up in fundamentalist Christianity. I know that book backwards and forwards, and I can tell you, if you're coming here to say, well, Islam is just inherently violent because of their religious ideology and what's in there, like, have you ever looked at the Quran? There's violent parts in there. Man, you never opened the Bible, have you? You never opened the Bible, have you, son? Look at what the Bible says about the Amalekites. Kill every one of them down, like, kill every man, kill every woman, kill every child, kill every animal. Look what it says about the entirety of humanity. Worth wiping out. God just does it. If you want to play this game where you point fingers at Islam, you better be seeing to the entire set of planks in your own eye before you start that conversation. That's a blatant lie because you never read it then? It's not a lie. Here we go. Let me pull this up here. Here's 1 Samuel 15. Samuel said to Saul, I am the Lord, sent to anoint you king over his people, Israel. So listen now to the message from the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt. Now go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. So Saul summoned the men and mustered them at Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 from Judah. Saul went to the city of Amalek and set an ambush in the ravine. Then he said to the Kenites, Go away, leave the Amalekites so that I do not destroy you along with them, for you showed kindness to all the Israelites when they came out of Egypt. So the Kenites moved away from the Amalekites. Then Saul attacked the Amalekites all the way from Havilah to Shur, near the eastern border of Egypt. He took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and all his people he totally destroyed with the sword. But Saul and his army spared Agag and the best of the sheep and cattle and fat calves and lambs, everything that was good. These they were unwilling to destroy completely, but everything that was despised and weak they totally destroyed. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel. I regret that I have made Saul king because he turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions. Samuel was angry and he cried out to the Lord all that night. That is God quite literally commanding the genocide. And the Bible fucking describes it. So don't you fucking call me a liar.
Islamophobes will react to this.
Like, don't you fucking call me a liar when I talk about what's in the Bible. I know it better than you. So when people start playing this game of like, oh, Islam is inherently violent, like Christianity is inherently violent too. But not everyone who practices Christianity is a violent genocidal maniac. And not everyone who practices Islam is a violent genocidal maniac. And using this as a like measuring rod, like there is no moral high ground here. So when people start saying, well, we need to purge Muslims from the UK because they're inherently violent, think about how inherently violent it is to do an ethnic cleansing. Think about how, I don't know, if one were to point at how this parallels what was done to the Amalekites, how one might be able to argue that Christianity is the inherently violent religion. Exhausting. Also, Comrade Girl, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. Curious how Islamophobes will react to this. Oh, interesting. This is from February. Muslims in the UK and US support democracy more than the general public. Favorability in the UK/US. And Muslims generally are more favorably biased towards democracy than the general public. That's pretty interesting. Compare the Quran now. The Quran is also full of violent actions. I'm not saying it's not. But when I'm talking about the Bible and the Quran, see to your own fucking house first. And if you're trying to say, we're the more peaceful religion, that's why we need to do an ethnic cleansing, Jesus Christ, you guys are broken. In your heart and your brain. Good God. I just want these fuckers to realize they're playing off Hitler's playbook. It'd be really nice if any of them could open their eyes and ears and look at history and learn a single goddamn thing from it, but fascists are inherently anti-intellectual, right? To to be curious enough to fact check where they got their ideology from would be to possess a quality that would preclude them from becoming fascists in the first place. Also interesting, just as an anecdotal point, Christians have always been the ones, to me, in my life, trying to get me to die or go away or expel me from society. Every Muslim I have ever met has always treated me with the utmost kindness, the utmost respect, and the utmost concern for my dignity and well-being and my ability to exist in society. And like, I think that's an important note. Anecdotal, but it's important to me. So, when we are talking about this, it's worth noting the people leading violent attacks on minorities in Belfast, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. The people taking their children out into the street to show them how great it is that there are now smoldering ruins where homes that housed minorities used to be, they're not doing a public service. They're delusional fascist vagabonds. And yet here you are blabbing, yeah, despite assholes like you, I will continue to live long after you've passed from this earth. And my existence will only continue to be enriched by your absence. If someone says you're doing Nazi shit, you should look and see if you're doing Nazi shit. Exactly. But this is why, and I've talked about this a lot. I talked about it a lot yesterday on yesterday's show, but I guess we're talking about it again. One of the core components, you know what? Let's actually bring it up. So Umberto Eco, for those of you who don't know, grew up under fascism in Italy, under Mussolini, right? And after the fact, he attempted to put together an argument, or not an argument, a useful definition about what exactly is fascism. What is it? Because it seems to be relatively slippery, right? Like, not the fascism of Nazi Germany was different from the fascism of Mussolini's Italy, and that was different from the fascism of Franco's Spain. So what is the commonality that linked them all together, right? And he wrote this essay, again, relatively short. I've read through it on stream in the past and talked about it quite a bit. But in Fascism, Umberto Eco comes down to a handful of different points, 14 points, in fact. And one of those core components is anti-intellectualism, right? And let's take a look here. We need this. Here we go. Core component. Let's see. You have a cult of tradition. You have a rejection of modernism and Enlightenment values. You have the cult of action for action's sake. Now, this is a component of it, right? Like, what that means, the cult of action for action's sake, is that you should purely be reactive and not spend any time in contemplation. You shouldn't be curious, because curiosity causes hesitation, and that will delay action, because action is the number one good, right? And if you spend any time thinking about things before you act, that's actually gay and bad. The exact quote he uses is, thinking is a form of emasculation. And I think that that's pretty obvious when it comes to how you see fascists comport themselves, right? You also have disagreement is treason. So anyone making an argument that, hey, maybe we shouldn't be fascists, are seen as traitors to the country or traitors to the cause, right? That's another component here, right? And then you have, of course, fear of difference, which lends itself to the xenophobia, appeal to social frustration. Again, usually that social frustration is facilitated by economic, discontent, typically brought upon a society by the wealthy class hoarding wealth and causing immense wealth disparity between the working class and the upper echelons of society, right? Then you have an obsession with a plot. Now, we have this here in the United States with like great replacement theory and stolen elections, all of that. And you're starting to see that foment itself into UK politics as well, right? Then you have this seemingly impossible situation where your enemy is both strong and weak, which doesn't make any sense. But since you've already abandoned thinking and instead are relying on action, you can then make statements that are contradictory, right? The quote Umberto Eco has about this one is, by a continuous shifting of rhetorical focus, the enemies are at the same time too strong and too weak, right? And that, like, is very, like, it's pretty clear that that's exactly what's happening in the UK related to immigrants. And it's also exactly what happened in the United States when, with all the fear mongering about trans people and undocumented immigrants here. Like, it's the exact same shit. And then you have the number 9 on his 14 points. Pacifism is trafficking with the enemy. So basically, if you are someone who wants to live for peace, for unity, for harmony, who does not, in fact, support, for example, mass ethnic cleansing, that is actually making you a traitor to the cause as well, right? By simply desiring to not have conflict, you are actually a traitor to the cause, right? And then number 10, contempt for the weak, because that also plays a role in here, right? And then education itself gets shifted around. That's number 11. Everybody is educated to become a hero. Instead of being educated to help society, educated to build yourself up, to better oneself, and thus contribute skills and expertise to wider society, instead, everyone is indoctrinated to sacrifice their lives so that the nation or the political cause can be furthered. This is the kind of ideological indoctrination that leads to people willingly going into meat grinders because they believe that is how, the nation will prevail, right? And then you have the focus on machismo and weaponry. This you can see in the United States when it comes to, far-right militias, for example, or the way that every Republican clutches at their gun instinctively. Like, if you get no better image of this than Steven Crowder with his cosplay holsters in every single broadcast, or at least I think he's ditched them now, but he used to have them all the time. And this machismo, this focus, this is also where a lot of transphobia and homophobia comes from. It's part of why it's baked into a lot of fascist ideas, right? Because to be truly masculine, to be truly macho, and to embody machismo, well, clearly you can't have any of the weakness of women amongst you. And so you must hate women. And so you must also hate men who act in a feminine way. And like you see this like trickle down, right? Through what we're experiencing right now in modern society. Then you have selective populism, what Umberto Eco calls selective populism. And that is essentially the idea that fascists can selectively champion populist causes when it suits them and when it is convenient. Notice how, for example, Donald Trump champions different, very popular ideas, and then when it comes to actually implementing them once he's won power, suddenly crickets, right? Suddenly, it's all gone. And what you have here, especially when you talk about the rejection of modernism, the rejection of Enlightenment era thinking, that is the rejection of empiricism. It is the rejection that there is an empirical reality that we can know, that we can study, that we can share and live in together, and that there are real facts outside of our perception, right? That, like, gravity is in fact real, that the earth is indeed round, that, you know, that regardless of how you feel about the earth being round, it is in fact round. And the breakdown of that in particular, and you can see how in a variety of other ways the fascist mind rejects actual reality, rejects logic, rejects any kind of introspection that might allow them to catch flawed thinking. Well, it's exactly how you get to what is happening in this burgeoning fascist moment in the UK. It's how you get to a situation where there are masked fascists roaming the streets who have shut down traffic and who are burning down homes because black and brown people live in them. And they think that by burning down those homes, that somehow betters their community as it lies smoldering behind them. It's weakness and cowardice is what it is. It's not understanding something and seeking to destroy it. I'm saddened that you couldn't accept yourself as a man. I'm saddened that you couldn't spell the right form of accept. I have an entire degree in English literature, and I'm saddened that you attempted to become literate and failed. You know? Like, like, it is funny to me, by the way, all of these pro England, pro UK folks come in here and then you fucking butcher your own language. God damn, you guys don't even care enough about your national pride to, like, bother being literate. It's crazy to me, guys. Also, Anime Sidekick Gal, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. I very, very much appreciate it. God. Dudes spouting transphobia can't even spell or know basic biology. It's true. None of these people understand the world. None of them care to understand it. They don't care to understand that the reality that they live in the same reality that I live in with them, they don't care to research anything. They don't care to understand it. Instead of seeking to understand it, they seek to destroy people like me. You know? You got this, queer? I do got this, queer. It's true. Vertical chat frightens me. I mean, it's full of the true troglodytes of the internet. Also known as British Reform. Got him!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
There we go. Nailed it. Let's see here. Oh god. Elon Musk posting, like, fucking AI slop. Here we are. Here's Elon Musk. Again, world's richest man, pushing conspiracy theory slop, pushing fucking ethnic cleansing ideology here. The arrested Sudanese man was as an asylum seeker. He entered Britain in February of 2023, immediately claiming asylum, according to the police. Who was the immigration minister at the time? And then when the man was granted leave to remain in our country, Reform's Robert Jennick. Jenrick, rather. Who was Home Secretary? Reform Swella Braverman. They were responsible for our borders. They failed in the most horrific way, with the most horrific consequences. A Restore Britain government will abolish the entire asylum system. No more asylum seekers. Anyone who entered our country illegally will be deported, regardless of current status. Enough. Restore Britain will not fail you. Oh, sorry. Restore. Yeah, because keep in mind, Restore Britain is the, farther right version of Reform. Like, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. You want to celebrate Pride, you should get a single day, not a month. You do know Pride Month is so that cities and towns can schedule one day where they have their celebrations, right? Like it's a window of time during which a Pride event can be scheduled. It's like a set of guidelines. Kind of like how Halloween has like a month and a half of like people doing Halloween shit, but only one actual day that we all agree on. It's not difficult to wrap your head around this. Like, you guys literally think that like gay people are out partying 24/7 during Pride Month, and that's literally not what we do. We got to go to work. Like we gotta take shits and stuff. Like, goodness. Point of order, just to make it clear, Elon is not the richest man. Is he not? Wasn't he? No, he is absolutely the world's richest man right now. Like, the SpaceX IPO sets him up to become the world's first trillionaire. The reason I bring up Elon Musk is to make sure you guys understand that all of these world-spanning far-right movements, whether they're in the United States or in the UK, get funded and pushed by the same fucking people. Right? Elon Musk poured an ungodly amount of money into getting Donald Trump elected. Elon Musk is currently doing everything he can to press the scales in favor of the far right in the UK. Like, he's been doing this all across Europe because he has enough money to do so. And, like, fascists love him because fascists love to kowtow to power. And, like, he's got a lot of power. Like, that's why I bring up fascists and Elon Musk in the same breath. He literally got up in front of the entirety of the United States and gave multiple Nazi salutes. Not far right? You're absolutely far right. What is a There we go. We're back, baby. Worth noting that there is, in fact, a thunderstorm happening right now, so if I suddenly go offline, I do apologize. Let me refresh here. Whew. Had a little bit of a kerfuffle. There we go. We're back. We're back. We had a cleansing of the vertical chat at the very least. We're so back. We are so back. All right. Back, and it's the right stream. That's because I took precautions beforehand so that I wouldn't get them mixed up if that happened. Now, folks, I guess we'll just conclude the segment there because God, I can't continue to talk about this case of just like the UK going insane and a whole slew of British people in my comments arguing that no, it's actually purely logical and good to commit ethnic cleansings And in fact, everyone should do it. It's angering what's happening, to say the least, right? Oof. I believe Elon Musk means well. No, he doesn't. No one stands up and does a fucking Nazi salute to the entirety of America and means well. That's like saying fucking Hitler meant well. Like, no. I reject that, like, completely. Alright. Anyway, folks, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the fascists in the UK, in Belfast in particular. And also, get organized, folks, because a lot of this is coming downstream of what happens in the United States. You know, the United States props up the far right in the UK. It is not happening in isolation. And yeah. So folks, join your local Dems, join your local DSA. We need people to make their local Dems not shit and to actually push progressive values. We had someone in chat, Dragonfly, someone you can reach out to for tips, actually wrote like 100 points or 800 points, like a crazy 100 amendments to the Democratic platform in Washington state. You can, in fact, be someone who goes and builds themselves up in the party as a leftist and get shit done while making the Democrats not shit. It's true. It's possible. All it requires of you is to show up and to not be a fucking freak. Like, show up and like figure out how to socialize and move people to the left within your local Democrats. It is possible. You can free your Democrats from corporate tyranny. It is possible. So, all of that being said, join your local Dems, join your local DSA. If you need help joining your DSA, reach out to Gamergy over on the Discord, and she will help you get situated with DSA and also help you figure out how to navigate DSA so you can, make your organizing apparatus locally even better. All right? You have access to both of those organizations regardless of where you are in the United States. And if you are also looking for any other ways you can get involved in directly in campaigns, you can join Progressive Victory. There's a link down below for you to do that. But join your local Dems and join your local DSA, folks. And last but not least, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes, also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. Go check it out. It is comfortable, sexy lingerie that's non-tucking. Check it out, ImogeneOlivia.com, link down in the description, and let's keep on going. You already lost? Impossible to lose when you always get back up again. You know who knew that lesson? Rocky. He went the distance, baby. Oof. We did it. What a Rocky segment. You know? Speaking of. All right. You guys ready for our next segment here? Not only the UK, live in Norway, and the political situation here is better for now than the UK and the US, but that's only because financial distress isn't as bad as you guys have it. It's very much rising. Yeah, like the move to privatize things is not limited to the UK. Like it's happening across Norway, Sweden. Like it is hitting everywhere. This push to privatize, and it doesn't have to be that way. Privatization doesn't serve people. It serves the the owners. It serves the capital class. It makes someone a whole lot of money, but it ain't you. Hey, hey, hey. Jaeger Larson, thank you for gifting a sub to Paradox Bingo. Appreciated. And let me turn this on. There we go. No, it's worse in the UK. The commenter literally said it was worse in the UK. Come on, pay attention. Keep up. Norwegian here. Yep, we have our share of fascist chuds here too, and the classic blame everything on immigrants tactic. It's the one they keep turning to. All right. We are going to change tact here. And we are, I might pump this story to tomorrow too. I think we're gonna do that. We're gonna move that to tomorrow. All right. It's the immigrants. It's not the immigrants. It's the wealthiest people in your society who are robbing you blind and then pointing a finger at immigrants. Please use your brain and stop falling for the same tactics that the wealthiest people on earth have used for over a century to bamboozle you. It's like some really sad Charlie Brown and football shit, which might not make sense if you're in the UK, I guess. That might not be a cultural touchstone for you guys. Um, I used to roll my eyes at fascism as liberalism in decline, but goddamn was I wrong. Well, that's the thing, right? Like liberalism is capital it like has capitalism constrained by laws and regulations. And when you start to get to neoliberalism, that is undoing the laws and regulations that liberalism spawned, right? It is undoing the devil's bargain that makes capitalism function alongside democracy. And neoliberalism is like capitalism in decline. It leads to fascism because people wind up being put under immense economic stress and they are looking for someone to blame, and it's way easier to blame other people who live in proximity to you than it is to blame wealthy, cool looking billionaires. And frankly, the billionaires can afford better PR teams than impoverished refugees. I told my mom about Charlie Brown and football in 2024, and she told me to give him a chance. What are we doing here? Right? God. Maybe my editor can make a short out of that. All right. But I might be a billionaire one day. Aw, geez. I might become one of them. I want to be where the capital is. I want to see them making money. I want to have, what do you call them? A retirement. God. Cringy as hell. I need to stop. All right. Oh, hey, look, it's Herbert Metzger. MAGA takes aim at Social Security. Lol, you mean took the 159-year-olds off? Lol, delusional man playing as a woman. That's actually a great way to introduce our next segment. So, folks, Republicans are looking to kick you and your grandma, and you if you're older, and your grandma if you're younger, off of Social Security. Isn't that fun? We're doing it all again, folks. Let's play the greatest hits that Republicans are doing. And guess what? The people they're aiming to kick off, not 159 years old. This article ran in Politico the other day. House Republicans gather congressional scorekeepers to discuss Reconciliation 3.0. Basically, the big beautiful bill that Republicans passed, they have a few things they want to tweak with it, right? They want to tweak some things in that big beautiful bill because they know they're not going to get another bite at that particular apple, right? So, what are they coming together around? Let's take a look. The Republican Study Committee convened on a meeting Monday evening with CBO Director Philip Swagel and Tom Barthold, Chief of Staff for the Joint Committee on Taxation, to discuss the process of estimating program costs and savings as part of a possible third budget reconciliation bill, according to four people granted anonymity to describe the private gathering. RSC Chair August Pfluger of Texas, as well as Budget Chair Jody Arrington of Texas and House National Resources Chair Bruce Westerman of Arkansas, were at the meeting. Representatives Lloyd Smucker of Pennsylvania and Gary Palmer of Alabama were also in attendance, according to one of the people. We had a dialogue and talked about their meetings on the Big Beautiful Bill, methodologies on the Big Beautiful Bill. I think it's good to have feedback like that and have them explain themselves and hopefully correct, so they can make better scores on the next reconciliation package. Basically, guys, what they are talking about here is they did not like the cost estimates they saw on the previous reconciliation packages. So they're meeting with the Congressional Budget Office and the various staff related to that to try and pressure them into having a more charitable look at how much different line items on a new proposal for the budget, this through reconciliation, how much these items might cost, how much money they can get by cutting various programs. And I can tell you from what it looks like so far, it looks pretty, I think the technical term for it is fucky. Right? House Republicans are now discussing several components of another party line policy package to follow up last summer's One Big Beautiful Bill Act and the immigration enforcement measure that could be cleared for President Donald Trump's signature as soon as Tuesday night. They are aiming to center a third party line reconciliation bill around affordability and will also seek to root out alleged fraud in social programs that conservatives claim could amount to tens of billions of dollars in savings for the federal government. So basically, this meeting with the CBO is designed to try and get them to say, if you cut these elements of different social programs, you're going to have magically $10 billion more dollars to spend on different things that Republicans want, like massive handouts to their biggest donors. Let's go. Let's take a look. Provisions currently under consideration, according to three other people, include cracking down on fraud in Medicaid, Medicare, and other social programs, affordable housing initiatives, funding for the military, and ongoing conflict in Iran, an overhaul of federal energy permitting laws, and potentially a suite of changes to the tax code, like indexing capital gains on homes. Republicans are counting on recouping cost savings from identifying and eliminating fraud and safety net programs to pay for Iran war funding. But many GOP lawmakers are keenly aware the CBO isn't likely to find savings of that desired magnitude. Speaker Mike Johnson also raised eyebrows Monday when he told a local radio station that Republicans have plans to adjust and fix spending in Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security next year. What he is doing here is saying, "Oh, we're coming for Social Security." Social Security has been the forbidden fruit of conservatives' ire for like the last 100 years, or since its inception, right? The idea here and what they want to do is to cut these programs even farther than they've already been cut, which, to be clear, is to the bone. They want to do things like raise the retirement age. They want to do things like have work requirements for Social Security. They want to do things like privatize Social Security so that it then floods into the investment market, and suddenly venture capitalists have a bunch of money to play around with, a bunch of institutional money, the best kind of money, backed by the US government. And what this is robbery. It is seeking to rob you blind, seeking to take away your grandma's income check every month and move that cost, which I want to remind you guys, they paid into it. Your grandmother paid into it. You guys, if you are paying taxes, pay into Social Security. Every single one of y'all, right? Pay into it. And, well, Twitchy-tism, that's the threat, right? Like, if this turns into, we privatize Social Security and Social Security fund goes into the stock market, that money is all going straight into fucking AI. And AI is already in a huge bubble. If that happens, if they privatize Social Security and it goes into the AI stock bubble, the collapse when that bubble pops is going to take everybody's retirement. Everybody's retirement. If they try it, there will 100% be lawsuits, for sure. For sure. But if they get even close to succeeding, like, the damage will have already been done, right? And it's worth noting here that when we're talking about these particular policies, like, Mike Johnson is straight up saying it.
We've been doing all that. And then we're going to lead up to what we have to do and address the largest spending items. The reason we're in trouble is because over 74% of federal spending is on autopilot, mandatory spending. That's your entitlement programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and then things like Social Security. They have to be adjusted and fixed. We have a plan to do that next year. We've been doing all that.
When he says that, the problem is we have all this spending that's fixed. It's fixed because people paid into those programs. And when he says it needs to be fixed, he's saying that because they want more money for war. They want more money to give as tax cuts to the wealthiest people to ever exist. They want to give tax cuts to Elon Musk, who's poised to be a goddamn trillionaire. Okay? Sorry, Mima. Elon Musk had to be a trillionaire. That's why you can't afford to eat. That's why Mima has to come live with us now. She's going to sleep on the couch. Because otherwise she can't afford to live anywhere. There is no rampant fraud in Medicaid. There is no rampant fraud in Social Security. There is no rampant fraud in Medicare. The allegations that they are going to recoup tens of billions of dollars by rooting that out, and that's somehow going to be useful in paying off the colossal, like, how much has the Iran war cost so far? Iran war cost, right? Oh, hey, there's a cost tracker. So they're looking right now at recouping like $10 billion. Worth pointing out, estimated US costs since strikes began, $107 billion. $107 billion. The idea that, oh, we're going to balance the budget by simply, getting a $10 billion, which is extraordinarily optimistic of them, really kind of gives the game away. This is not a cut to try and pay for the Iran war. This is not a cut to try and pay for the tax cuts. This is a cut so that they can give more tax cuts. This is a cut so they can make even more money for their business donors. That's it. It is highway robbery. And conservatives keep falling for it time after time after time. Like, Republicans just voted to give ICE and DHS $70 billion more dollars. Like, literally just voted for it. House passes bill to fund ICE and Border Patrol through the remainder of Trump's term to the tune of, again, $70 billion. So, just to be clear here, we have ballooned ICE's budget to being among one of the largest militarized forces on Earth, and also have spent $107 billion in total, just between these two things, the Iran war, something that we did not have to do, and spending $70 billion on militarizing ICE so that it can terrorize communities across the United States. We're talking almost $180 billion. And Mike Johnson is just like, help, can somebody help me balance this checkbook? I don't know how to do it. Clearly, we have to find like $10 billion by cutting Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. And it's just like, no. You just don't go to war with Iran. Don't go to war with Iran, and don't militarize ICE. It's really not that difficult. People don't want masked men roaming their streets, killing people. People don't like that. People actually fucking hate that. Like, I know this might be an alien concept to some folks, but seeing masked men pulling people aside and murdering them in broad daylight, not actually a great thing for your community. And like, the people who are like, oh yeah, we actually love it. You only love it because it hasn't happened to you yet. And your community will be terrorized by these folks sometime soon. Conservatives are not immune from this shit. And a lot of y'all act like you are, but the folks in Minnesota who have been terrorized both in the cities and also in the rural red communities, they know what the truth is. And the truth is, ICE does not give a shit if they are terrorizing you in the fields or terrorizing you in the streets. They do not care if you are Black. They do not care if you are white. They do not care if you are a legal immigrant. They do not care if you are a resident. They do not care if you are a citizen. They don't care. They aren't required to care because they operate outside of the law. Right? And I don't know. I'm one of those silly people who think that government agents with the authority to kill people on sight should have to operate within some kind of law. I'm old school that way, I guess. A law and order socialist, I guess you could say. But all of this to say, and I think you guys know where we're going with this, a lot of conservatives seem to be getting really confused about this too. Here's one I spotted the other day on Twitter. Explain to me, like I'm an idiot, how deporting people contributes to my nest egg evaporating. Because Republicans took all the money and want to take even more money out of social programs that you already paid for and earned. And they want to take that money and give it to ICE, which then gets funneled into private corporations that donate to Republicans. It's an incestuous, disgusting Ouroboros of corruption. And those of you who are just going like, rah, rah, ICE, yeah, this is great, Republicans are really fighting for the little guy, you're suckers. You're suckers and losers. It's crazy. Like, y'all would literally fall for the Simpsons monorail scheme. Right? And, of course, that comment is in response to this. Social Security shortfall expected to accelerate with funds at critical low in 2032. The shortfall will be driven in part by a drop in immigration and Trump's tax cuts, trustees say, resulting in trimmed benefits. Now, I want to make a couple of points clear here, right? I want to make a couple of points clear because a lot of conservatives don't really seem to get this. But undocumented immigrants pay into the social programs that they never see the benefits of, which means undocumented immigrants right now have been propping up Social Security. When you take a ton of money and militarize ICE and start going after undocumented workers, you are cutting off the working base that contributes and pays into Social Security. You are literally cutting off your nose to spite your face. Or I guess you're cutting off Mima's nose to spite her face. And on top of that, the tax cuts have to come from somewhere. And what Trump did in the big, beautiful bill, what MAGA did in the big, beautiful bill, was cut Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. They have been doing this. And they aim to do way more. When you see stories like this, by the way, in the Washington Post, for example, this is actually Jeff Bezos propaganda. And I know what you mean. I know many of you might be saying, but how? Like that, wait a minute. How is this Jeff Bezos propaganda? The argument that the Social Security Trust Fund will, be dry by 2032, and then we'll have to up the retirement age and people's benefits will be slashed. That is fear-mongering garbage, because there's a very easy fix to this. It's very, very easy. And it's by getting the wealthiest people to ever exist to pay their fair share. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, right now, if you make above a certain amount of money, your payments into Social Security are capped. And where is that cap? What is the Social Security cap? I don't know what it is off the top of my head. It's $184,500. So if you make more than $184,500, the amount you pay into Social Security doesn't go up with that. So if you are making $200,000, you are paying as much money into Social Security as somebody who is making $10 million. You are paying as much as somebody who is making 20 million, 100 million, $1 billion every year. And prior to getting to $184,500, you pay a certain percentage of your income into Social Security. It caps out at $184,500. The solution to basically all the problems with the Social Security Trust Fund's expiration date is to just remove the cap. You remove the cap and have the wealthiest people in our country pay the exact same share of their income into the Social Security Trust Fund. The same percentage you pay into it should be the same percentage that someone like Elon Musk, who is sitting at the point of becoming a trillionaire, should pay in. Elon Musk and you should pay the same percentage into that program. It is wild that the wealthiest people in this country get a pass on this. And when we talk about like what it would mean to pay the same percentage of income into this program, it would mean that not only would the program be solvent indefinitely, but it also would mean that your benefits would instead go up. We could afford to have elderly people live in dignity. We can afford to have people like get health care. We could bring down the age of Medicare. We could be doing so many more things. But Republicans and Jeff Bezos' personal news outlet like to pretend that this is an ever-looming crisis, when in reality, pretending it's a crisis with no other solution other than to, well, I guess we'll have to cut Medicaid, guess we'll have to cut Social Security. That's just billionaire propaganda. The solution is tax billionaires. Always has been. I believe it shouldn't be the same percentage, but I guess that progressive taxation is too much of a European step to take. I mean, I'd be in favor of progressive taxation, don't get me wrong, right? But that being said, I just eliminate the cap entirely. Yeah, it's bullshit that they convinced people that immigrants are the cause of wealth inequality. It is. It's complete and utter bullshit. And, oh god. You know, like this again, it's not just, by the way, Jeff Bezos' personal outlet. It's like a common talking point. Even NPR reports stuff like this. A trust fund that helps pay Social Security benefits for more than 60 million retirees and family members is expected to run out of money by 2032. Unless Congress makes changes by then. I wonder if this article even mentions what change, right? The trustees recommend that lawmakers address the projected trust fund shortfalls in a timely way. Okay, but address how? Let's see. Basic challenge for Social Security is demographic. No, it's not. The basic challenge is being willing to tax the wealthy. Congress could patch the shortfall by raising taxes, reducing benefits, or some combination of the two. And like, the solution is really simple. The way that the trust fund is funded right now is through this tax. Eliminate the cap on the tax. It's really not difficult. Just remove the tax on the Social Security payroll tax, for fuck's sake. Social programs? Why not just burn the Constitution while we're at it? We can't burn the Constitution. I'm sorry to say, the left can't burn the Constitution. Because conservatives in America are too busy burning it already. MAGA just loves to shit on the Constitution. Oops, all smugs, indeed. I thought the solution was to increase the military budget by 50% in 1 year. Nah. Turns out that didn't work out too great. Like, we could start with not going to war in Iran, and we could then, like, move on to, you know, taxing the wealthy. wealth needs to be, well, yeah, of course, there needs to be wealth taxes as well, but like the income, like the payroll tax is how Social Security is funded right now. And like, I'm all for just removing the cap from that entirely. But on top of that, wealth should absolutely be taxed in this country, you know? God. So that's where we're at. Republicans are pushing forward to try and do as much damage as humanly possible before Donald Trump becomes the ultimate lame duck next year, following the midterms. And that, I think, is about as much as we can say right now. So, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. How would you fix the Social Security apparatus? I'm sure you guys got good ideas out there. And also, obviously, we should have Medicare for all. Like, I didn't talk about it in this segment because, like, it's just obvious we should have Medicare for all. Just begin to progressively lower the Medicare eligibility age and increase Medicare benefits, and like it's pretty straightforward. We could genuinely do it in over the course of like 5 years if we wanted to. But whatever. Also, join your local Dems if you want to see more progressive taxation, if you want to see the cap on Social Security lifted, if you want to see Medicare for all, join your local Dems. Advocate for that inside the party, because when you do that, you can actually see colossal results. We have a member of our community who has managed to rewrite like a sizable portion of the Washington State Democrats' platform, which is pretty cool. And to make it more progressive, to make it more left-leaning, to make it more pro-working class, that is a great project to embark on. And you all can do that in your neck of the woods too. So join your local Dems, make them more progressive, make them more pro-working class. And folks, join your local DSA and help organize working class folks in your neighborhoods, in your area, because we need to make the DSA even more effective at doing that. If you need help doing these things, by the way, join our Discord, reach out to GamerG for help with DSA, reach out to Dragonfly for help with your local Dems. They got years of experience doing these things, and they'll help you get started, but they'll also give you advice on how to proceed if you run into any hiccups, okay? Now, also, last but not least, check out ImogeneOlivia.com, gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes, tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is comfortable, sexy lingerie that's non-tucking. Go check it out, ImogeneOlivia.com, link down in the description. Let's keep on going. I just don't want to pay more out of my checks, man. I'm broke and gay. Leave me be. Fuck yeah. And you know what? You shouldn't have to pay more money out of your checks. The wealthiest assholes on the planet who get taxed less than you do should be paying more of their fair share. Because they've been skipping out on paying their tab for like the last 50 years. And that tax burden, instead of falling rightly on them, has fallen on all the rest of us, including you. We don't like your LGBTQ pushed on us. Who's pushing? Like, genuinely, when folks like you come into my chat and you're like, you're making us gay, like, man, if you saw like two men holding hands and it made you suddenly realize something about yourself that's utterly inconvenient, you were already gay. That's not something being pushed in your face. That's just like that's just you learning about yourself. I'm fine with paying taxes even as a poor person if my taxes are going to services we need. Well, that's kind of why Zoran Mamdani is winning so hard, right? Like, and is really good at governing. It's because he's constantly talking about what he is doing with taxpayer money. He's constantly talking about how your taxes are helping to better New York City, right? Like, and people want that from politicians. They want that clear communication. They want to know that their money isn't just being thrown into a pit and lit on fire. It's actually doing stuff. They put money to use? No, they don't. Billionaires don't put money to use. They sit on it. The reason billionaire money accumulates is because they sit on it. They hoard it. That money doesn't circulate. It gets all tied up in like equity and shit. The people who circulate money and make the economy healthy are working class people. It's not people who hoard it like fucking dragons. Like, it's all going into fucking stock schemes. Billionaires don't have money. It's why they don't pay taxes. Well, yeah, I mean, like, we're all familiar with the fact that billionaires basically pay themselves in stock and then take out loans against that stock and essentially don't make money. They just make stock. They build equity in a company and then take out loans against that and then pay back the loan. Like, it's bullshit is what it is. My goodness. New York is not renting homes. Literally, like 65% of New York City is made out of renters. Like, what are you talking about? The majority of people who live in New York City are renting. If billionaires do not invest, their money loses value. They invest in things that make money, jobs, and commerce. No, they don't. Like, they invest in things that make money. That's it. They don't care about jobs. They don't care about commerce. They care about money. That's why they all do fucking stock buybacks. It's why they're all doing like crazy crypto schemes. Like, they aren't investing in and like trickling down their wealth. They hoard it. That's how they become billionaires. Like, we could put that money to much better use if we just taxed billionaires until they were 999,999,999.99 heirs. Tax billionaires until they can no longer be billionaires anymore. And then, guess what? We can then invest that money into working class communities. And guess what? Working class people will circulate that money around a lot better than billionaires do. Because, hey, guess who spends most of their money? Anyone want to take a guess? Oh, that's right. It's working class people. If you tax billionaires, they move overseas. If they want to move their money overseas, they better pay that tax. Otherwise, their money is going to stay right here. And you know, if they want to move overseas so badly, oh look, a bunch of their investment properties. I guess they should be seized. Or maybe their companies should be disallowed from doing business here. I don't know. Kind of seems like one, call their bluff, and two, be prepared to take action in response to any potential actions they take. Like, the acting as if we should be beholden to the whims of billionaires, I think is a deeply anti-American and a deeply anti-democratic way of thinking. Like, it is akin to, like, saying, no, you would have a duke capitulate to the peasant? No, capitalism isn't natural human exchange. Natural human exchange is called bartering. Bartering is not capitalism. My friend, you don't know what you're talking about. The existence of trade is not, in fact, capitalism. Socialism robs of human motivation. Actually, counterpoint, socialism relies on human motivation. Because what socialism does is it takes the factory that was previously owned by one person and instead makes it owned by the people who work in the factory. And the people who work in the factory and know their jobs better than the abstract person who simply bought the factory. And they're far more incentivized to work at the factory when they get to dictate what their working conditions are, what their pay is, etc. And they get to do so democratically. Because, I believe in democracy. It's wild what happens when you actually believe in democracy and not just make a sham show of it. Whereas socialism succeeded. King Arthur Milling. The King Arthur Milling Company is the oldest milling company in the United States. It is worker-owned and operated. It's literally been around for hundreds of years. Probably, likely, predates whenever your family came to the United States. Provided you're not indigenous, of course. So, I don't know. The idea that, like, this can't work when it's clearly worked for, like, hundreds of years is weird to me. King Arthur Milling, by the way, or Baking. It used to be a milling company, now they call it King Arthur Baking. Very successful company, by the way. Socialism takes from the productive and gives to the non-productive. That's capitalism! Capitalism does that. Capitalism enriches people who do nothing other than own things. That is theft. Capitalism can only exist because it takes from the people who produce the value. And they take from the people who produce entirely on the basis of the fact that they own something, rather than actually contributing anything or doing any labor. It's not difficult to wrap your head around. Like, just ask yourself, where the fuck do profits come from? Profits come from the labor that produces the revenue. If you want socialism, you should move in with your parents because they will love you. I want democracy. I don't care if coworkers love each other. I guess it'd be nice. But, like, what I want is democracy in the workplace. Democracy as truly applied throughout the entirety of our republic. Democracy should be the norm within America, both inside the workplace and outside of it. And that doesn't seem like an altogether controversial notion to me, if you actually believe democracy can function. And I guess if you think that America just can't function because democracy is flawed, then like you have a very different idea of what can and can't work. But I happen to believe democracy is good when it comes to running one of the largest and most powerful countries on earth. And I think democracy is good also at running far smaller and less complicated companies. Democracy does not exist when the government takes from the productive. America is not a democracy. It's a fucking republic. A republic is a democracy. It's a representative democracy. They put up initial money, buy or rent land, pay for electricity, water, sewage, pay workers' income. Now, Jim Porter, excellent points. My counterpoint is there's literally nothing that precludes workers from collectively doing the same. And we have the data. When workers collectively do that and manage their own affairs, companies are more successful. It's literally better for the economy for it to be worker run. Where socialism has failed, it was sabotaged by internal capitalist plutocrats. I mean, I think there's an argument to be made for that, yeah. Socialism always turns into bribes and gray markets. I don't think when you talk about socialism, you actually know what socialism is. AI will destroy capitalism? No, it won't. Also, AI isn't what you are being advertised to. Like, what you have clearly internalized about AI is not accurate to what AI actually can do or is right now. We all know socialism is greed. Literally, I grew up my entire life telling me that capitalism is the idea of greed is good put into action. Because human nature is fundamentally flawed and greedy. And I disagree with that notion. And also, if your argument is just socialism is greed, then I guess, wow, we've got a lot of socialist billionaires in America. This is so fucking stupid. You're right. I shouldn't be wasting my time. We're talking in circles, and we will continue to talk in circles for the foreseeable future. Let's take a look at this, though. Lillian, thank you for subscribing with Prime. Socialism leads to slaughter. Define socialism. Fuck, I will debate all of you into the ground. It's crazy. Like, literally none of you who are talking about socialism are capable of defining what it is. Like, when I ask you what socialism is, you guys go, it's greed. Like, that's not what I asked. I asked you to define what socialism means. Like, if you were like in front of the class in like an English classroom and like your teacher asked you to define a term and you said, well, what is capitalism? It's a boat. Like, actually define the term. Actually define the term. We are watching mental illness on full display right now, just not in the way you seem to think. So the workers are going to pay for shitheads who don't work at all, give them free food, healthcare, etc. What? If you and your fellow workers are on the hook for how well the company does and what is then done with the profits generated by the company, that is motivation for everyone to do their part. It's literally more motivation under a democratically owned model. It's, again, why you have democratically owned cooperatives that have existed for like hundreds of years. Socialism is a farm co-op with hairy armpit chicks and free incense. That's sometimes true. Just not usually the case, but sometimes. Okay, so all of you who've been talking about socialism in vertical chat, the next thing you post has to be a definition of socialism or you're going to get banned. Like I've asked you multiple times now. So Loretta Stiles, Jim Porter, the next things you guys post have to be a definition of socialism. Because otherwise, I don't think you guys know what you're talking about. Do 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 do. How socialist of you? You literally don't know what the word means. Also, get a job. This is my job, which is pretty great. If you're, by the way, if you guys are enjoying this, hit the like button and consider dropping those subs, donos, memberships, super chats, etc. Because you guys make this show possible. Couldn't do it without you fine folks. And also, just worth noting, we are currently sitting at 142 out of 500 subs. We're getting closer and closer towards our overall goal. It's crazy. Socialism is some sort of worker guide economy things. You know what? Copy. That's pretty close. Jim Porter, you didn't define socialism. You didn't do it. Bye. Let's see here. But socialism is when workers own the means of production. And what that means is that workers own collectively the place where they work.
Socialism makes the best music.
It's true. Jazz Dog, very socialist, probably. I'm sorry, Uncle Simric. If you want, you can unban Jim and then ban him again when he doesn't define socialism. Okay, to classify streaming as a job, you have to be making minimum wage or more to do so. Do you? I do indeed. This is the primary thing on my taxes, friend. Let's see here. And they regulate corporations under their control, so technically every business guided by workers for workers, kind of like that. Yeah, basically, if you are, to be very simple about it, if a bunch of workers work in a factory, they collectively own that factory. And what that means is you can have a variety of different ownership structures, but they fundamentally must be democratic. So you can do that in a variety of different kinds of structures. You can have flat structures, you can have hierarchical structures, but the structure is defined by the people who work there. And then like they collectively make decisions for how that works. I've actually put a lot of thought into this because at one point in my life I was thinking about making a democratic worker cooperative. So like I've thought about this a lot, and essentially you can have even traditional hierarchical business structures that exist today, but instead of the board of directors of the company being beholden to shareholders, instead the board of directors is beholden to the democratic vote of the workers at the company. So, yeah. And then that's like a legally binding vote that makes that the company has to work towards. The company gets to decide how the profits are dispersed, etc., how much is invested, all that jazz. Why are all the psychos in this chat? All the love in my heart to those brave warriors who are pure of heart in vertical chat. But I need to let you guys know that unfortunately you have the distinction of being the primary landing point for conservatives, because the people who are scrolling through YouTube lives in the vertical format, well, their brains have been rotted by TikTok and Instagram lives, and they don't have the attention span for horizontal streams or horizontal long form video content, and so instead they're mindlessly scrolling. And when they get here, they aren't really that interested in a prolonged back and forth. They're interested in a herder socialism bad, herder trans people bad, and that's about it, you know?
As diagonal chatters would never.
Yeah, the diagonal chat is the superior chat. It's true. It's true. My the riverboat.gg, by the way, is run by a German democratic worker co-op. I'm curious what a worker is defined as. Would management of a factory be a worker? Would the CEO of the company that works for the factory be a worker? Genuinely curious. I don't know much. I have no problem saying that if you are doing a job for the company, you are considered in that sense a worker. So if the company agrees on like a hierarchical structure, there's obviously a need for like a certain management like hierarchy, especially within larger structures of business. And I have no problem saying those people would be workers too. When we're talking about capitalism, capitalism isn't your boss is bad, though sometimes that is the case. Capitalism is talking about the method by which businesses are owned, essentially. And in this case, people who are capitalists are the people who own capital, i.e., the people who own the factory, the people who own the business, right? The overwhelming majority of people in America are not capitalists. They are workers, right? And so, like, when we're talking about like a board of directors for a democratic worker cooperative, all of the people on that board would be workers, but they would be then bound to and beholden to the democratic vote of all the workers at the company to dictate how the company goes forward and continues to operate. So, also, Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. Very much appreciated. Also, coming in clutch late in the middle of the night. Hope you're doing all right. I'd say America's 60 or 70% capitalistically inclined. Yeah, I would say that that's probably true, right? Capitalistically inclined, though, is not what a capitalist is. Does that make sense? When I'm talking about who is and is not a capitalist, I'm talking about people who own capital, not people who support capitalism, people who own capital. And that is not the overwhelming majority of people in the United States. What type of socialist, though? Tito socialist, technocrats, Lenin Marxist, internationalist, socialist, syndicalist, or you outright communist like Juche, Stalin, Mao, and Pol Pot alike? I actually wouldn't consider folks like Stalin and Mao and Pol Pot to be communists, largely because communism is the advocacy of a stateless, classless, moneyless society, and they literally did the opposite of all those things. And I fucking despise authoritarianism. And frankly, authoritarianism is incompatible with what communism is supposed to be. I call myself just a dyed-in-the-wool socialist because my goal is largely to take coherent, concrete steps towards a future that I think is more democratic and better for folks, right?
DIAGON A.L.
Suck it, Nuki. Thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. And for repping the very rare and elusive diagonal chat. So I call myself a socialist because there's not really like a term that I would really fall under neatly. To describe to you guys what kind of socialist I am, I would tell you guys pretty simply that I am someone who believes we should move from an economy that is primarily owned by capitalists to an economy that's primarily owned by workers. And I would do that by basically advocating policies that make the creation of democratic worker cooperatives easier and make capital more accessible to democratic worker cooperatives that want to start up. And I think that this can be justified under the American system, largely because...
It didn't keep the
Oh.
formatting. I made it diagonal in the text box on the site.
Oh, no. Oh. Saki Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs, and I'm sorry for your loss. Now, I advocate for the transition to democratic worker cooperatives largely through a number of different things. Number one, I want to bring back postal banking. We used to have it in the United States up until the 1960s, where it was phased out to essentially fully privatize the banking system in the US. And I think that that was a mistake because postal banking made banking services accessible to everyone in the country, regardless of where they were. And also, it was a useful vehicle for government programs to put money into the hands of everyday working people, right? Primarily through the use of loans, but it could also be through other mechanisms as well. But this would be important because essentially postal banks could then be used as a way for the government to subsidize and make loans far more accessible to those who want to start out democratic worker cooperatives. And this is good, by the way, because democratic worker cooperatives are better at paying their taxes. They survive harsh economic conditions better than traditional companies, and workers get paid better, and workers have better working conditions, and workers are happier. What this all means, by the way, is that workers tend to stay put. They tend to build roots. They build lives. And then that factory or business doesn't then go and offshore itself because it's owned by the people who work there, right? And then you have a bunch of built-in incentives here, right? They're better at paying their taxes. They're better for the local economy. They're better for like the local government. They're better for the community. And so you have democratic worker cooperatives, right? And I think this kind of bottom-up approach is really, really necessary, especially as we gather data on like the best ways to format companies that are democratically owned. Because we have a lot of data right now, but I think more data is always better. And so part of this would be to develop better best practices for launching democratic cooperatives to make it easier, right? And then on top of that, I would have programs, once we have more data in particular, that facilitate the transition of large companies into democratically owned companies. And we've seen this before. There are companies like, for example, Bob's Red Mill, which was owned by Bob of Bob's Red Mill. And when Bob decided to retire, that company was then given to the workers, and the workers have run it ever since. So if you're familiar with King Arthur Baking or Bob's Red Mill, guess what? They're democratically owned worker cooperatives. And when we're talking about these, I think that it is very plain to see you can have large democratic cooperatives that function well over a long period of time. And what I think should happen is a piece of legislation Bernie Sanders introduced years ago, which is that if a company needs, if a company sells, right, wants to sell, companies should first have to make an offer to the employees. So if you want to sell a company to another company, first, your workers get the option to buy it from you instead. And I think that that would be a really, really good system to put into place, because I think a not insignificant number of workplaces would actually take that up. But it would also start a process by which larger companies transition into democratic cooperatives. And I think we could make this even better by saying, hey, if your company needs a government bailout, guess what? You have to now transition into worker ownership as a component of that. Like, sure, your company gets to continue to exist. You have a government bailout. Maybe your CEOs even get their little golden parachutes, but the company then transitions to democratic ownership. And I think that these handful of things, right, would put into place a system that would slowly crush out of existence privately owned businesses. I think there would still probably be some niches where, privately owned businesses would continue to exist in some form or capacity. But by and large, I think there would be a transition process over a period of many years to democratic ownership as the norm. Because I think if given the choice between working at a private company or an equally sized democratic worker cooperative, most people are going to choose the democratic worker cooperative, purely out of self-interest, by the way, because democratic cooperatives pay more. They are more stable. They have longer survival times. They have a higher success rate at staying around. Like, I think that genuinely this would be a great way to transition. And I am fully in favor of, while we do this, doing things like Medicare for all, doing things like housing for all, housing first initiatives, just as a general rule. Like, these are all things that I think need to happen. On top of that, there needs to be an overhauling of the social safety net. There needs to be that increases benefits for working people. And I think overall, this would transition us into a much healthier and more resilient economy, and one that is fundamentally more democratic, fundamentally more egalitarian, fundamentally more free, and fundamentally more fair. And it wouldn't solve all the problems, and I'm open to steps taken after that. But I feel like what I just put forward is probably about the extent of what my advocacy could achieve in my lifetime. And I'm content with the idea that I don't know enough to move us all the way to some future point where maybe we have like techno communism and like, anarcho, utopian communism or whatever. I'm content with knowing that I might not have the perfect vision of the utopian future. But I think I have a set of steps, at least in America, that can get us closer to that. And I think that that's really important and a way we can achieve that. So that's where I'm at. Hopefully that made more sense. I know that was a really long answer, probably not what you were looking for, but there you go. Where do workers get the capital to buy out current ownership? I think the government could provide loans. I think the government could step in if they are unable, if workers are unable to get private capital. I think the government is highly incentivized here to provide loans, because for a number of different reasons. One, because by all the metrics we know of about democratic co-ops, they are better and more financially solvent than private entities, right? Private companies. So it's more of a sure return on the investment for taxpayer money to be used this way. And also in the long term, these democratically owned companies are going to be better at paying their taxes and more invested in the successes of their communities, and less prone to passing on costs to the local community or the national community, right? Like, if you democratically own the factory, for example, and you live in the area around the factory, why on earth would you then, as like a democratic company, be like, yeah, let's pour poison into our own water supply, guys, because then we can make a little bit more money as we're being poisoned by our by our foul water table. Like, it's just a better investment. And of course, some of those investments might fail, but I think there should be government programs that vet democratic cooperatives, and if workers can come together with a viable pathway towards paying that loan back and keeping the company going, then democratic transition should happen. Whew. So there you go. Uncle Simric doing God's work over in the over in the vertical chat. We're fully in favor of transition here. Hell yeah. All right. I really want to do this Mamdani segment, but I just spent way too much time talking about socialism, and now it's 4:30 in the morning. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to continue this tomorrow. I really want to talk about Mamdani's grand bargain, but you know, we'll see what we can do. Fuck, I have to wake up in 4 hours and I'm not tired. The perpetual problem. All right. Good night, folks. I will see you all tomorrow. Fare thee well, and remember, I will be debating transphobes on the Transatlantic Call-In Show on Thursday. Those of you in vertical chat, I know a lot of you are transphobic. If you actually believe your argument, call into the Transatlantic Call-In Show on Thursday. Do it, you fucking cowards. Good night, everybody. Bye.